average woman's height, 5'9", 175.25 centimeters, and you're going to imagine if she was blown up into a real life human being, what would that imply as far as how big is her waist, how big is her bust, how long are her legs, how big around is her hips, and so on. And you're going to set up these proportions using what you calculated here, set up the proportions, and calculate her new measurement. Does that make sense? Okay. And when you're done with step 2, you're going to move on to step 3. Step 3 now that we know what Barbie would look like if she was a real human being, what her size would be, now we want to kind of put that into perspective. Well, so what if her bust is whatever, or so what if her hips are whatever? What does that mean in terms of a real woman? So then what you're going to do is you're going to pick one female in your group, and if there's a group that really wants to do men, then you can pick the Ken doll instead, okay? But then your numbers are going to be different from the rest of the group, and that's fine, so you can talk about yours. So if you really want to do, if a male really wants to volunteer themselves, then you can compare yourself to the male. So one girl in your group is going to volunteer to get the measurements of these similar parts, okay? So I know it can be a little bit uncomfortable, and especially at your age, you're still changing all the time. So if you feel super duper uncomfortable, I took my own measurements. So if any group really doesn't want, if there's no girl that can volunteer, then you can use my measurements instead, okay? But I hope that you will be involved in the process. And also, if you guys want, you can, for example, if there are 2 girls who really want to do it, you can take both of them and take the averages. Or if there's 2 girls that really don't want to do it, you can take theirs and take the average so that one person isn't kind of put on the spot. Okay? So you're going to take a real human being in this class, you're going to take their measurements, and then finally you're going to compare. You're going to write in your measurements here, or the girl volunteer in your group, versus human-sized Barbie, if Barbie was blown up to a human, and see what does that look like. Because everyone in this room looks very normal. We don't look at any of you and be like, wow, they're really oddly shaped. And no one in this room is like that at all. So compared to a normal human being, how does Barbie compare? Okay? So at that point, when you're done with step 3, then you can go ahead and read on. But at that point, we're going to come back together for a group discussion. Okay? Any questions? I'm going to tell you right now. So, you're going to need to be in, wait, let me count, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Your groups are going to be 3 people. There might be one group of 2, okay? And each group can come pick whatever Barbie they would like. And behind Nicole are the measuring tapes. So take a look. They need to be back in a stack in their boxes when you're done with them. And each group should have a female volunteer. So, make sure there's a female in every group who's volunteering.
Can we go outside?
I prefer if you stay in here, because it's going to go very quickly, and then we're going to want to be here for our classes. All right? Any questions? I'm going to let you guys choose your own groups, but please make sure that you have a female who is willing to be measured in your group. Okay? If you need help finding a group, let me know. You guys will have about 20 minutes to do that part left. Go ahead. So fellas, make sure you find a group where you might need to see
Vamos bien, Tati. Buena.
I should consider dressing up.
We both. Do you want to be measured?
No.
Yes. Uy, yo soy el average. Entonces puede ser el average muy diferente. Tú vas a ser. She is perfect. She's going to do it. Ella quiere. She is offering herself. Mira. No le porque ella, she volunteered herself. Tú me dijiste, tú dijiste, yo y Nisha. Y muy diferente sería como yo o Nisha.
Okay, you guys
Yo
have
hice eso igual.
No, que ver.
Entonces
Well, that's a task, so that everyone gets to participate.
como entonces.
El average no me da mucho
No, yo te llamaré con mío. ¿Cuál era bonito en serio? English.
circumference of waist. Height. From the tip of her head.
I'm super like, sí, como Baptist. Yeah. Ya, yo te tengo el otro y... Bueno, Germa viene en la... Germa, ponlo acá, ponlo abajo. Ah, ya.
Yeah, I am.
Hasta que dale, que haga eso. Por los final. Por ahí.
No, we're borrowing the Barbies from the middle school. I think they did it.
Ahí está. I should probably not be. Kinda. Should you start from the back? Wow. Ya están viviendo.
¿Qué viene pues?
Yo, I'm stepping back. I'm also gonna step back.
No, they didn't want you to touch yourself.
It's gonna fall through.
It would be awkward. Hips. Hips is next.
17, like, center line.
17.
¿Te lo gusta? Está como entre 18 y 18. Arms. Yeah,
Centimeters.
Barbie. Oh, is that not given?
Okay. Your turn. Should we just do this fast and
Of course. Dice 70. ¿Cuánto pedí? No, porque yo estaba haciendo todo. ¿Viste que no creció? ¿Viste que no
Este parece como
Mateo, stop.
Acuérdate que tiene que ser centímetros.
What was your height? So you're very close to the average woman.
Carlos.
You said 175.
Beautiful.
Is it a first
Allá igual
no, estaba haciendo eso. I know. I wanted to see like how far it went. Should I take it off?
808.
Eso, do we need to show more than this word? Or
Ahora tenemos que medir un human. ¿Tú qué?
No, but you're just measuring you from the ground. Yeah.
is the height measured like this?
Right, but
Because they have Barbie already in the heels, they're making her look smaller. You just take your phone.
She has to take off. You're way too unprofessional. What number do you rank?
it's up to you. Just try to stay accurate. So I would say 10th or 100th.
Está complicado.
Okay.
It's 90-60-90, so you're over 90. The measurement for a girl is 90-60-90.
Misa, I'm 90. O sea, 92. No, 92. No, 92. Mi piedra, de piedra. ¿Cuánto?
You're almost Barbie. For what? The camera is so
The camera is
77. No, 76.2.
¿El que más queda?
Toca de nuevo.
We're having technical problems here. No.
Espérate, Nicolás, no, espérate que no.
49.
Acá rompimos un récord. 90.
48.
No, pero no, 90. Pasamos 90 cerrados.
Okay, guys, you have about 10 more minutes to clean that section off.
Cuento 3. Cuento 3.
How can you even go near a tree? Oh my god.
Ustedes ya terminaron.
Big waist. No.
Okay. Ya. ¿Cuánto? 72 exacto.
I got 85 excuse. 87.1.
¿96 exacto?
Sí.
77.1.
Agárrate. Pedro,
Lo necesitas igual a la Barbie, ¿sabías?
Pero
Barbie-
think about it. This 30 is a the measurement of a perfect woman is 6. It's 60. Yeah, it's 80 inches. It's 90, 69.
That was the old times. That was the old.
La Barbie, there's friends. La Barbie.
Tira el dedo, el dedo. 75. Eso no es lo que
Bueno, yo mira, tenemos una ventaja con el que
Ay,
pues no es tan grande comparado con el de y el boss tampoco. Y acá también es Polymore. De acá. Creo que puede ser una más fuerza que ella. Puede ser mi mío. Me viene muy largo. Por look, que creo que igual bien largo. No, porque mira. The whole Barbie's legs. If you think about the whole Barbie's legs. You just put Makes me finish and we just wait.
Guys, please raise your hand if your group is done with the measuring and calculations. Excellent. What I'd like you guys to do at this time, wait, who's still working on the calculations? Okay, a couple more groups. Let's just give them another minute or so to finish the final calculations and fill in that chart, and then we'll regroup in about 1 minute. And when you're finished, please go ahead and rewind your measuring tape. Make sure the black flat thing is hooked back in, and then please return to the boxes in the back in a nice, neat stack. Say it again.
Can we like type it out? ¿Cuánto es? And how many paragraphs?
I'll explain all that in a bit. Okay? Jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah, I'm small.
Alright guys, if you would please return to your seats. So let's go to the front. If you would return to your seats. Guys, there's still some measuring tape sitting out here.
Mira. Bueno, pero mi es más chica que Roma. Ven ese lado. Gracias. Solo digo. Okay.
Alright, so hold on. Please take a moment to look at that chart that you filled out. Please take a moment to look at that chart that you filled out. Now, first of all, you all have slightly different Barbies, so your answers are gonna all come out a little bit different. And you all had a different female volunteer in your group, which you measured, and so those answers are gonna come out a bit different. But I'd like us to just take a quick look and compare these values. And let's go ahead and start with the human-sized Barbie. So I just want to hear out, the human-sized Barbie. I want to hear out what are the numbers you came out with, and we'll kind of roughly estimate the average. So can I just shout out for the human-sized Barbie, what was her waist?
58.
58? 59?
48. 58. It's really small.
Okay, you guys had an old-fashioned Barbie, okay, so that's the older model of Barbie, and you'll notice that Barbie versus some of the other ones are quite different. So we'll take the average of that. You guys had about 48, 49, and we had about 59, so we'll take the average of about 55. Okay, those are about the average of the two types. And for the human-sized Barbie bust, what did you guys get?
76.
87, 76. Okay, so we'll take the average, we'll say about 82. Okay, we'll just take the average of those. Hips, what was Barbie's hip size?
80.
85. Okay, we'll also take the average of what you're saying. And her legs?
99. No, 100. That's an estimate of 100.
99, 105.
102.
102. Okay, we'll take the average. And her arms?
60.
62. Okay, so that'll be our approximation there. So again, you guys all have different Barbies, so it's going to come out slightly different. Now, take a look at the section that says view. Obviously, this is your female volunteer. Now, Barbie, when we calculated her human-sized Barbie, we were looking at a human that's 175.25 centimeters. Barbie, you were 174. Did you check your height?
Yeah.
172. So I think Barbie is our this Barbie is our tallest female in the class right here, and she's even shorter than the average woman that we're considering the tallest, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're less than 175.25 centimeters, when you're comparing the human-sized Barbie, these might seem kind of realistic for that size, but Barbie, go ahead and stand up. Okay, take a look. When you're calculating this Barbie, you're calculating for even taller than Barbie. Okay, you're calculating these measurements for even taller than Barbie. So keep that in mind. And let me see, I'm quite a bit shorter than you. Oh, with heels, I'm almost your height. So, guys, I'm gonna put in, just so that I don't want you guys to have to publicize your measurement, I'm gonna put mine in just so you guys can kind of see. And again, I'm quite a few centimeters shorter than her height, so these are off a little bit. So I want you to really keep that in mind. So my waist is at 72, my bust is at 87, my hips are at 98, legs are at 98, and arms are at 75. So if you take a look at these measurements, and keep in mind that I'm shorter, this is for a human being that's shorter than this human-sized Barbie. What numbers here are pretty drastically different?
Your hip,
Okay, waist, hips, arms. Okay, legs are pretty close.
the numbers.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't really consider myself someone who's too abnormally sized, so I'd say I'm probably a pretty average sized female. And for a pretty average sized female, her waist is almost 20 centimeters smaller than mine. Okay, so you might see that your, Samantha, stand up for a second. Take a look at Samantha. What did you get for your waist?
My waist, I got 59.
So she's a little bit bigger than what Barbie is, but Barbie, stand up one more time. Okay, but look at Samantha's height versus Barbie's height. So her waist is proportional for her size. Look at her height and her waist, and that works. Okay? But imagine if she was at Barbie's height and her waist was even smaller than what it is now, that might look a little strange, right? So I want you to take a moment and I want you to just look at these numbers and turn to your group member, the members of your group, and I want you to just kind of talk about what do you notice about these numbers? What is a little off? Go ahead. You just actually yes, okay. Now that you're talking a little bit about, analyzing what her body size would be if she were a human being, I want to ask you a question. I hope you can answer it very honestly, especially for the females in the room. Growing up, if someone said to you, "Oh, you look like Barbie," would that be a compliment or a put down? Probably a compliment. So growing up, most girls view Barbie as someone who's pretty, correct? Guys, would you say if, like, "Oh, my girlfriend's as hot as Barbie"? That's probably a good thing, right? It's not like a bad thing. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the real Barbie. If Barbie was really life-size, what does that actually look like? So let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to put Barbie on the projector, and she doesn't quite fit because she's kind of tall. Okay, she's quite tall. But you can just imagine the extension of her legs would be like she's on the ground. Okay? So take a look at Barbie. And take a look at the size of her body. Okay? And I'm gonna ask Nadia, could you please, I'm gonna stand next to Barbie here, and I want you to come, and I want you to pull Barbie back until our waists are the same size. No.
Oh,
The whole table.
Keep going.